Hello, Ryan. You mentioned a few people who had a big influence on your life, and there are two that overlap with me. First is Coach Crook. He had a remarkable way of instilling confidence, and he was always enthusiastic. He was very honest and would tell you about your weaknesses and what you did wrong, but he wouldn't dwell on that. It was all about encouraging you to reach your potential with a good sense of when to be funny and laid back and when to be serious and intense. I didn't really like baseball too much, but getting to learn with Coach Crook was certainly time well spent. You also mentioned Todd Irvin. Todd also instilled confidence, but with a more calm demeanor. I think he was just as passionate as Crook, but simply had a different way of expressing it. Todd would challenge me to be better, and he showed me respect and got to know me on a human level, and that really made me want to succeed on the court because I knew that I was representing him in a way, and I thought he should get an opportunity to coach at the varsity level. He actually solicited my takes and my opinions, and we had nuanced conversations. It was more like we would work together rather than having a distinct boss-employee type of relationship. You asked me some specific questions about work ethic. I'll give you my subjective approach to when and why I work hard or not so hard, and I think that will answer most of your questions. I think that when I'm starting something new or unfamiliar that I'm obligated to do, I work harder than about 85% of my colleagues. I'm certainly not better at new tasks than 85% of my colleagues. I work that hard because I'm a slow learner, I'm anxious about not performing up to the expected standard, and when I'm teaching, I want to control as many variables as I realistically can. I'm not so good at handling curveballs, literally and figuratively. For example, now I'm teaching a research class for the first time. I'm putting in a lot more work and time and effort than most, but that's because I've got some imposter syndrome. I don't want to let my students down who are paying tuition, and I want to know everything about the course before I start teaching on the first day. Since others depend on me, and I'm a slow and thorough learner, plus I want to be in control of the class, I'll work harder than most, but I won't get as much done, and I'll be anxious in the process, since it's more of a fear of failure rather than a striving toward success in that situation. On the other hand, if I'm doing something that I'm genuinely passionate about, I believe I also work harder than roughly 85% of my colleagues. Now I'm in the process of doing things like this YouTube with you. I'm helping students launch their own independent projects. And these things where I'm really motivated, interested, and curious about, I want to combine that feeling into my daily work routine more and more. So, as trite as the saying is, if you love what you do, then it really isn't work. Fortunately, there are many parts of my job where I can integrate my creative touches and areas of interest into lessons and into committee work. So, if I'm doing something that I have created and I'm inspired to do, I put in the work. Again, that doesn't mean that the final product or outcome is objectively high quality, but if the work is meaningful, then I'm working hard and being fulfilled rather than working hard and being anxious as hell. I do strive to implement meaningful activities into my work and daily life so that working hard and enjoyment are intertwined. Please read Flow and Man's Search for Meaning for a more detailed explanation. Finally, in my day-to-day work-related tasks that involve jumping through the hoops that everyone has to do, I think I work harder than about 40% of people. If it's an obligation more than an opportunity, the effort simply isn't that tremendous. If I'm not able to involve my ideas, or other people don't depend on what I'm doing, yes, I'll get the job done, but I'll likely do just the bare minimum. You also asked me if I had any interest in a leadership or administrative position in the future. Well, if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said probably not. But today, I think absolutely yes, to some extent. If the fit is right, I would love to take on more leadership responsibilities. If I can do something I care about, which I fully intend to do, I want to have as much impact and influence as I can. So, whether that happens sooner or later, I'm not sure, but I believe it will happen. I'll reiterate, I don't plan to become a leader in order to become a leader or for the job title. I intend to invest my time in worthwhile causes and do that as my career somehow, and I want to develop as much as possible doing that. So I think it will be inevitable that I demand leadership if I'm doing something that's truly meaningful for work. So one false impression that I get the feeling you have about me is that I have a high academic aptitude. Let me provide a little more clarity. My high school GPA rank was 50th out of 200. Then I got plenty of C's at the University of Oregon, even after studying pretty hard. Learning new subjects or new skills is really difficult for me. I'm terrible with languages, math, and science especially. Now, I think I have high emotional, psychological, and abstract intelligence, but if you're looking for a guy with high SAT score or high IQ or is a perfectionist academically, that's certainly not me. Okay, my questions for you. As a Renaissance man, what is one area or hobby that you wish you could dabble in, but in all likelihood, for one reason or another, will never get around to? And on a lighter note, what are some of your favorite movies and why? I've always loved movies, and they've been a big part of my life. So I'm curious, what are your top 5 favorite movies? All right, I look forward to your answers.